welcome to another edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the Hangout, APC dares Wike to sue federal government over the recovered 13 billion naira. Don't silence the Emir of Kano, NBA chairman cautions the northern elite. And later on the show, troop rescue more than 1,000 people from Boko Haram. Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Mayor Akipelu, and Festus Erie will be hanging out with me. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. The discovery of 15 billion naira in an Ikoyi apartment in Lagos still remains a shock to many. The controversy over the find has been who owns the cash as well as who owns the apartment where it was found. A source in the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, which initially claimed ownership of the money, said the agency will not go to court. Similarly, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has asked President Buhari to address the nation on the recovered 15 billion naira following the controversy surrounding this fund. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress, APC, has also dared the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike over his threat to sue the federal government. Who really owns this money? Let me start from Mayor. Yesterday, we started our perspective on this, and we're like, today we're going to get the press release from the National Intelligence Agency that claim to own the money, the press release or a press conference, and we have a better insight. But from the way we still have, as at now, we still don't have an official insight to who owns the $15 million.
Let me say that I'm embarrassed about how things are panning out. It's so sad that once again, EFCC didn't do the right thing. I understand Magu's efforts to convince everybody that he's winning the corruption war. But because he's more interested in convincing people or show people that he's working, they are making a lot of mistakes. The last time I was here, we discussed about where they were losing cases, and we said that they don't do the needful by really investigating things. Because if you have a whistleblower that there's a particular amount of money in a flat, I expect a serious agency to be able to investigate, know the owner of that money. That is how it's done everywhere. If you want to bust a drug warlord in America, he will spend time monitoring the guy, monitoring the business. It may take months to do that. But by the time you move in, because already you know where the money is, you're supposed to, the first thing you're supposed to do surveillance. Know people who go to that flat. So by the time you bust them, you have enough evidence, because before you go, somebody must have informed you before going there. So, but now they've turned it to a joke, and everybody's just, the story is so embarrassing. And what doesn't help is that Sarah reporters also made some mistakes. I commend what they do. I think they because it's very difficult to do investigative journalism. It's very difficult, and every reporter is as good as his source. If your source is not good enough, you will make mistakes. But in the course of following the stories, they also added to the confusion. Because at one time it was Murazu, at one time it was the former MD of NNPC, another time it was Rotimi Amechi, it was now NIA.
Along the line, you have succeeded in damaging people.
That's what I'm saying.
Seriously.
A lot of people have paid a lot of money for that, and everybody keeps saying things. Then the NIA thing is a joke. I believe that it is wrong. In fact, it is embarrassing for an agency like NIA to come out to claim ownership of money that was not properly secured. If you are an agency involved in covert activities, if you put money for whatever reason in a safe place in court, I expect your agents to provide security in that place. For you to put 15 billion somewhere, and it's easy for anybody to just go there and bust them. So that means if armed robbers wanted to come there, they will have come and bought away with the 15 billion. So it's really embarrassing.
First,
yes.
The governor of Rivers State claims ownership of this money and accuses Amechi of stealing and stashing the money. And that has gotten a lot of reactions.
From my point of view, I really don't take much of what Wike says seriously, especially if it involves his bitter political enemy, Rotimi Amici. So whatever Wike says, you have to put it in context of that rivalry, that relationship. Because I don't think that there's anything that Wike has said so far that really provides us a credible platform to say that the money belongs to the Rivers State government. Frankly, I've not seen anything firm that he has presented, other than the same old allegations against Amici and so on. So until Wike comes up with something firm, usually if you're going to move money, it's either there's a paper trail or there will be some trail in the banks or something for that kind of money.
We have documentary evidence.
Obviously, for that kind of money. I mean, it's crazy. You're talking about $43 million. I mean, there will be a trail. We're not talking about 43 million naira here. So, but I think that for someone like Wike, he's a governor. It's not everything that you jump in. It's not every controversy you jump into and turn into a tit for tat with somebody just to score some points against somebody you dislike.
Rotimi Amici has written through his lawyers, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, and he has written to Femi Fani-Kayode and Larry Olarinka. I saw from Lateef Fagbemi's letter-headed paper earlier today, and saying that, look, if you don't apologize, you've refused to substantiate this, we'll go to court and we're going to see you. What do you make of this brickbat?
You see, Fawashe comes across nearly all the time as a mega rumor monger in the corridors of power. You have no evidence at all that the money belongs to Amici, and then you went to town. I can excuse FFK because this is what he's been doing for years. You know, propaganda, saying things that he cannot substantiate. You read some articles written by FFK, you even question his education. So I'm not really surprised that FFK has chosen that route. But I think that if you in the case of Wike, you know you cannot sue him.
So he has immunity.
He has chosen to sue those fellows who do not have immunity.
The special assistant media.
Yes, the attack dog of the governor and FFK. FFK has more than 300,000 followers on his Twitter page. And more than 2,000 of them actually retweeted that news item in inverted commas. So much damage was done to Rotimi Amici's reputation. And what has Wike provided? The same story that has been telling us that Amici looted more than 500
gas turbine
million and all that. Is the same thing, that is the same facts that he has come forward with. So you cannot prove that that money belongs to Amici simply by telling us that he stole Rivers State blind. You must show concrete proof that that money indeed belongs to him. So for now, we cannot say that that money belongs to Amici. The NIA has stepped forward to say that the money belongs to them. But even at that, there are questions, there are gaps. It is extremely difficult for Nigerians to believe that story. Because the question that people are asking is, okay, covert operations back then, and more than 2 years
down the line,
you still decided to retain the money. So when people attack Magu for taking the action that he has taken, I think he must have taken that action not believing their story, and preferring that the money should go back to central bank, so that the money, we can say that the money has come back to those who own it, rather than keep it there. Because I actually heard that Ibrahim Magu was told
before that operation
that money belongs to
NIA.
Do not go there. But he proceeded with his intention to unravel the money.
The same inter-agency rivalry
there was no break-in I mean, no, they didn't break the safes. In fact, the key to the safe was right there. If you saw the earlier pictures posted, they didn't have to break any safe, or like what happened in some other places where they've discovered money. They opened those safes. So this is not like the raid on Andrew Yakubu's apartment, for example. You know. So the truth is, I have never been as embarrassed as I am now about this, the clear lack of synergy between the various security agencies. Because if there was synergy, in fact, the NSA should be aware, the current NSA should be aware that that money was kept there. Yes, it should be aware. And we are even being told that, the EFCC got a court order to raid every home in Osborne Towers. And that was also announced. So if some people kept money in their apartments, the moment you announce that,
they will move it.
And you know, the EFCC also told people in advance that look, we are coming to search. We have caught this thing. Won't you go and keep your money elsewhere? So really, I do not get it becoming like a joke. And if the EFCC does not fine tune its tactics, honestly, Nigerians will lose interest in this whole anti-corruption war.
All right, we'll take this quick break. When we'll come back, we'll discuss more. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this time out. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're still looking at the Lagos Cash Hall here. And Mayor, looking at this ambassador, okay. And you look at, I asked around and they told me that he's an appointee of the last administration, and you begin to want to draw one or two things and everything. At the level at which this present administration, we have so many people still occupying positions that because of the former administration, even 7 card-carrying members of the People's Democratic Party, your vision, your aim, your objective, they might not be able to buy into it. Mr. President is coming with, I'll fight corruption to a standstill, and I don't know if he's still operating with those PDP guys. How convenient will it be for him to, especially a sensitive agency like NIA?
Yeah, I think I agree with you that that's part of the problem. The president is slow in taking decisions, which is affecting how the country is being run. And I think it must have been a mistake. There must have been a reason for it. I can understand if in the first few months or 6 months of a new government, it's good for you to retain some people so that the transition could be smooth. But 2 years down the line, if you still retain somebody in a very important agency like NIA, I think it's a mistake. Then again, I think
as much as you can change the DG of
DSS, I think it's a mistake because if you have somebody who was appointed by the party, yes, it's a professional, so it may not be a PDP card-carrying member, but it's somebody that except maybe there's a reason for retaining him. Maybe it's somebody they've known him or something. But I believe, I may be wrong, that the way Ambassador is running NIA is not right. I don't think he's competent enough. Because why I said so, because if you look at this issue, if you head an agency and you need a safe house, for you to domicile the money you want to use for that covert service to operation in a house that is not safe does not show professionalism. Even if it is true, but what I suspect is that during the time of Jonathan, towards the end of Jonathan's presidency, and so much money was flying around because they wanted to win election. A lot of people asked for approvals and got approvals for so much money. And then some people now decided to be smart, because if you look at investigations into the scam in the National Security Advisor's office and the 2 billion that was supposedly shared instead of using it to buy things, so you will know that they love, because Amos have returned so much money. The former yes. So
one hospital here in Adelaide Jones.
The same thing could apply to NIA. Yes, it is true that money could have been approved. Perhaps the money was not spent, and somebody decided to appropriate that to himself. That could be the only reason. That could be the only reason why you will put it in a private house. Because what I'm saying so is this: Sarah reporters just did a story now to correct themselves to say, look, that they'll be able to talk to the whistleblower who gave them insights into how money was moved into the place. They've been able to trace that the owner of that flat now is Oke's wife, and that the person that used to bring money to that place was Oke's wife. You understand? If that is true,
maybe on behalf of the agency.
That's what I'm saying. That cannot be justified because the wife of the Director General is not supposed to get involved in activities of the agency.
That is if that story is true.
That's what I'm saying. That is if the story is true. That's what I said. Because initially I said
so
part
many
of the
stories
problem
flying around.
We were told that Buhari told the Attorney General to take over investigation. The Attorney General has come out to say he's not investigating anything. Wow. So it is a season of lies.
Lies.
I think the responsibility of this government is that we are not being informed, and that will give room to conjectures and lies.
Yeah, I think that the whole immediate aftermath of the raid was badly managed by the EFCC, and I think that now the story is evolving. You're going to get people because nobody's talking. You talk to people, nobody wants to share from the official end. But I think that the kind of questions that are being raised, like Mayo has raised concerning the role of the NIA DG, I was a bit curious. How is it possible that in that kind of strategic agency, 2 years after, the president did not know that kind of money was there? Yeah. And it's a serious issue. So let us even assume that money
we are talking about
belongs to the NIA.
$43 million.
Yes.
That's 23 million naira in cash and 27,800 pounds sterling.
So let's assume that the money actually belongs to the NIA. How come the president was not briefed about this? How come the national security was not advised?
Maybe the supervisor.
Yes.
And if Magu had not raided that flat, 2 years down the line, it is possible that we would not have known that $43 million dollars belonging to Nigeria lying in some anonymous flat in Ikoyi. And I think that that's a very, very serious issue. Even if we determine that it belongs to the NIA, there are serious issues as to why the president and the NSA and all responsible officials are not briefed about this.
You know, the money outside central bank, the money outside the banking industry, it's worrisome in Nigeria in terms of pounds, dollars, and everything. Wherever they might have buried it in their farms and cemeteries, I've been seeing funny stories. Those online stories, I will just beg you, don't believe it. The cemetery thing and everything. Yes. The Minister of Information actually alluded to that fact, but people, bringing pictures, funny pictures, and everything. He has not shown us proof. But we know. In the last 2 years, we've seen this, EFCC, anti-corruption agency, going to homes and retrieving monies and everything. What does that make of our system? What kind of system are we running?
See, it's even made worse by this the BVN thing, because people can actually track the person who owns an account. Let me tell you what a friend of mine who worked for Goodluck Jonathan said when the wife's money was discovered in Skybank. He said this woman is too stubborn, that ordinarily she shouldn't have taken the money to a bank. So Precious Jonathan was unhinged by the fact that she kept money in a bank. There are so many Nigerian rich men and women who keep tons of cash in their homes. Not just, it is rampant in northern Nigeria where a lot of bankable funds are not in the banks, where a lot of people do not even believe that they should use banks.
They don't want to get interest.
Yes, we come up with Jai's Bank. Look, when I was in Kano, there is this single market, Kantinkwori. The bulk of the money in the Kano economy, comes from that market. And most of the people, the traders in that market, even billionaires amongst them, they don't use banks. You see because they think that is a waste of time. As you are coming in, they are transacting business, people are taking money away, they are taking money from you. That's how they want. They don't want to go and line up somewhere and ask for money. And they don't even want the interest. So so much money is not a new culture for us to keep money at home for Nigerians. But the truth is, a lot of the funds that are being hidden in people's homes, it is because of the fear of being found out if such monies are taken to the banks. So we must, and we've had that, some are being kept in forests and all that. We have to speed up work to discover monies wherever they are. But we must do everything possible to identify the people who have hidden this money. Otherwise, Nigerians will lose
Let's
interest.
take Mazi Okorafo is calling us from Abia State.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good our guests in the studio. Honestly speaking, we all are Nigerians. We have seen what is happening in our country today. We have to be very, very careful whatever we are seeing because of tomorrow. Because why am I saying that we have to be very careful? Because international community are watching us the rate of corruption and the rate of stealing in this country. We have to be very careful because a situation whereby we now portray our image very badly. Nobody gives us respect anytime we leave this country to other parts of Europe. It's very, very good. Because in our contract, this money has been recovered, whether NSO or WIKE or anybody that owns money. We have to say that this money, federal government, if it's caught, decide what to do within 2 weeks. Not a question of prolonging the issue, because we have to be very careful because the money belongs to Nigeria. There are no roads in our house to put to our house. It's not them. If they can put that money to us, we're very happy to help us, or even our university students.
Thank you, Mazi Okorafo.
They don't have to
Mazi Okorafo called us from Abia State in Aruchukwu. Is a regular caller. Mayor, and when you want to look at it, when, the former British Prime Minister, when he called us, as termed us as fantastically corrupt that time, some of us were like, oh, what's the meaning of this? We're embarrassed and everything, and as if the man just have kind of an insight into what goes on with our finances.
I think we don't seem to really know ourselves, so we need other people to tell us who we are. I'm shocked that we can be this corrupt. Because when somebody that used to be managing director of NNPC could put $9 million in one village, and he didn't feel anything about it, and when he was found out, he said it was gift from people. It only happen in a place like Nigeria. When there is $43 million in a place, and an agency of government will lay claim to say, oh, it's our money, and they will not provide any evidence or reason why that money should be in that safe house. It shows that truly you are fantastically corrupt.
Your submission on this?
I think that Nigerians should really, we just need to look in the mirror and don't get worked up in it. It's not news that we have this image. And I think it works both ways, because the international community can actually see that there is a government that is trying to do something. They are not perfect. So if you get credit for what the government is doing about what has been a long-term problem. So I don't think it's something that Nigerians should get worked up about, even if somebody calls you fantastically corrupt. I mean, it's just reality.
Reality. Bad reality. We'll quickly take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. When we return, NBA President Northern Elites not to silence the Emir of Kano. Find out why after this time out. Welcome back. Listen to the advice of the Emir. That was the advice given to the Northern Elites by the president of the Nigerian Bar Association. The Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi, has been condemning societal ills relating to early marriage, girl-child education, and the economy. The NBA President Abubakar Mahmoud has cautioned against moves to stop the Emir from making public statements. The foremost traditional ruler had called for the regulation of marriage to second wives. He also called on the northern governors to use mosques and primary schools in poverty-stricken villages, amongst many others. Many residents have been asked the traditional ruler to stop making statements, some of which they say were critical to Islamic teachings. Jide, under the last administration, I thought the former CBN governor, it was all about Jonathan must go. And he was so critical of that administration. He lost his job. He was still critical. And when this administration came, naturally I felt this is a friend of the house, as in is going to know how to mellow down and the appropriate channel to, to channel his criticism. But right now, the main opposition to the federal government of Nigeria is coming from the Emir of Kano. Right. What do you read between the lines?
I don't know whether it's correct to say the main opposition to the government is coming from him, because there are other, even Northerners, who are far more critical of this government than he is. Balabe Musa is more critical of this government than Sanusi. Junaid Mohammed is more critical of this administration than he is, and there are so many of them like that. Even the old man, Tanko Yakase, there are so many people in the north who are very critical of this government. Farouk Perugi, Jafar, so many Nigerians.
Some people will say a first-class traditional ruler, a monarch of his caliber, that is meant to be, moderate in his views.
You see, Sanusi helped. He did his best to put this administration in power, including even inflating the figures. I mean, the level of theft that happened during Jonathan's era. When he had that one-on-one confrontation with Okonjo-Iweala, he scaled down his figure of more than 50 billion. He scaled it down significantly, and later on he came down back to say, oh, it was 20 billion. We had the Senate investigation that found that 20 billion was not missing and all that. I don't want to go into whether so much money was missing. We found the House of Reps now has come out to say, see, in the last 4 years, NNPC did not remit 81 billion, So we have problems with stealing in our country. But the one thing is certain, the emir has to be careful. I've seen emirs dethroned. No matter how popular you think you are, they will dethrone you. They will dethrone you. You saw, as powerful, as rich, and influential as the former Sultan of Sokoto, Dasuki was. Yeah. He was routinely disrespectful of Abacha. He didn't like Abacha. Most people extremely loyal to to Babangida, never liked Abacha because they realized that Abacha harbored a desire to become president. He never liked him. And then there was this passing out parade at the NDA. He deliberately came in long after the president, the head of state then, Abacha, had entered the arena, and he was reading a speech when they started blowing this their kakaki pam 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 pam, and Abacha was so embarrassed. He looked in the direction of Lawa Jafaru Isa, who was the military administrator of Kaduna at that time. Jafaru knew what he had to do. The emir, the sultan got a query from somebody who was not his governor. And then the former governor, the administrator of Sokoto State, Yakubu Muazu, was Abacha's military administrator when he was Minister of Defense. He was the governor in Sokoto. Abacha ordered him to remove the Sultan. They removed the Sultan. They drove him furiously for hours from Sokoto, drove him furiously up to Kaduna. In the end, the emir was removed. Don't think only military rulers can remove emirs. Mustafa Jakolo, former ADC to Buhari, the one who was notorious for abusing even senior army officers. He famously described Obasanjo as a pot-belly general. He had no respect for anyone as Emir of Gwandu. This man now, who is in the Senate now, the former governor of Kebbi, Adamu Alero, removed Mustafa Jakolo. Nothing happened.
Heaven did not fall.
Now, look at what Sanusi must fight his battle in a tactical manner. He must not take on just anybody. Sanusi must not take on this traditional authority and take on the governors as well. He criticized the governor of Kano. He said the light rail project
is Governor Ganduje.
Yeah, Governor Ganduje, that he criticized the light rail project. He said it's a misplacement of priority. He moved on to criticize the chairman of the Governors Forum, Yari, accused because Yari said blamed fornication for the meningitis outbreak. Now, don't forget that it was not Ganduje that enthroned him. It was Kwankwaso that enthroned him. And a successor to Ado Bayero had been announced. One of Ado Bayero's, I think Nasir Ado Bayero, had been announced as the Emir of Kano. And Sanusi had congratulated him. Before they now changed it, they called the kingmakers.
I think there was a lot of run-up to 2015.
There was politics in it.
Yes.
Ayo, there was politics in it. If you helped us to be strong as a political party, and we see an opportunity to help you, we will help you. But the point that I'm making is, now there are so many issues involved.
Yes.
Don't forget the relationship between Ganduje and the man who put him there.
Yes.
So he has to be careful. He has to be careful.
Mayor, now looking at this now, even the indigenous of Kano, they are saying, our traditional ruler, please tread softly. Yes, he has been making, politically correct points. He has been even been saying the truth. Early marriage and everything that he has been talking about. At the same time, while he's taking on religious leaders, he's at the same time taking on government policy, he's at the same time taking on his state
You
government.
can't, as a traditional ruler, support a woman, in northern Nigeria, support a woman slapping the husband. You can't.
Yes, I remember that instance.
You said
yes.
you support his own daughter.
Let me start by saying that I'm a fan of Emir Sanusi because I like his courage, and I think we need people who can speak truth to power. So I can understand what he's saying. That is the way it used to be. A governor of central bank that took on the government that he was serving knew that he would probably lose that position, but he didn't mind. It's like that. There are some people.
There's always been like that.
So he already said he would do one time.
Yes, it was.
He said he would do one time.
I like the fact that he speaks truth to power, and what he's saying, I seem to agree with most of them, if not all of them. But I agree that if you're in a particular position, you have to consider that position when you're articulating your things. That is why a king is different from a commoner, or different from an average person in the society. There are certain things I can say as an average person in society.
I'm looking at his predecessor.
Yes, that the
central.
king is not the
Controversial.
emir. The emir is not expected to do the same thing. And then I also agree that he has to change his style, because there are certain criticism that you should be able to channel through the official channel.
Without going to the press.
Yes, without going to the press. Because if you go to the press, if you have access, which it does, if you have access, then you are expected to be able to tell us what to, or tell government what you think should be done. If you instead of telling government and you go to the press, that means
you want to embarrass them.
Yes, you have ulterior motive. That means you want to embarrass government, or you believe that they are not listening to you enough. You want to take it to the people. So I'm a fan of his. I respect his courage, but I think he should change his style.
To change his style.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it, Festus.
Yes.
Do you agree with?
I largely disagree with a couple of points.
With him or me?
Some of what you have said and some of what you have said.
Okay, that makes it.
I don't think that being dethroned is the worst thing that can happen to a man. In any case, in Sanusi's own case, in his family history, they have his own grandfather was dethroned.
Yeah.
So
maybe history is going to repeat itself.
But I think that what do we really want? I think that Sanusi is actually doing the northern part of this country a big favor. There are not too many people who want to address the truth. The truth of the matter is that region has become a burden for the rest of this country. I think it was the 2016 UNDP report. If you look at the figures, the three northern geopolitical zones were always lagging behind the southern zones in all the indices. And which part of the country will you go to, aside from the north, where you will see young people flooding traffic in the morning, begging, There is so much poverty in northern Nigeria, and the leadership is not addressing it. The northern leaders have ruled this country longer than people from any other part of this country, and their control of power has not impacted their region. So I think that for somebody in Sanusi's position to be coming out to be saying this, delivering these hard truths, it's something that the region should be grateful. But I understand that the traditional rulers, the political elites, they are on the defensive. Because he's saying that you are responsible for this, we need to change this. So their reaction is coming from that sense that they are on the defensive, and you can understand that. But if you remove Sanusi, it's not going to stop him from saying what he's saying. And I also don't think that this idea of telling government what you want to tell them in secret, because you have channels, you have what channels? El Rufai did a memo, behind the scene memo, a private memo to the president, and somebody leaked it. Something that was supposed to be private advice to government was all over the media a couple of months down the line. So what was the difference?
But before then, he said they are reaching out to 10. Like
yeah, written. And but at the end of the day, what was supposed to be private communication?
Hold your thought there.
Yes.
Let me just take this commercial break. Okay. When we come back,
okay,
we talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout. I'm enjoying myself. We'll be right back after this time out. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The break was so the studio is heated up here, and we're still looking at the Emir of Kano's public comments, and we've been able to talk about his criticism against the government of the day. Julie, apparently what we're saying here is that he's not even just taking on government alone, he's taking on so many battles at the same time.
He's pursuing so many battles, and you see strands of hypocrisy even in some of what he's saying. If he wants to criticize the Buhari regime, criticize the people in government, you understand? Yari, of course, he deserves to be criticized. He can criticize those people. I'm saying that he must know the battles to fight. Because the mistake some people are making is they think this is all about him. Oh, it's just the people in government that is criticizing. No! He's taking on ideals that the people of the North hold dear. If you are criticizing the Islamic institution, for example, things that people hold dear, you know, religion is a very emotive thing.
Very.
I know Kano, for example. Let me tell you, Kano was the first town in Nigeria where people began to pray for the fall of Abacha. And it happened in Fege Mosque.
Despite the fact that Abacha is from Kano.
That's where he was raised. So he has to know what battles to fight. You can attack Yari and other people. I don't mind. But when you extend it to the traditional institution, you extend it to Islamic clerics and the rest of them. The Islamic clerics are extremely influential. When they preach, they can turn the people against you. It doesn't take so long. Because people respect them, they listen. All this their words, when they do, people listen, they hold whatever they say as gospel truth. So you can't be an emir and be fighting. And I also think that he's making too many public appearances. Because Ado Bayero as emir, you can't just be inviting him to various events. Ado Bayero never spoke Hausa publicly. Someone will interpret for him. Even when his friends, like Jesse Jackson, whenever they visited, they will translate. And they've known each other from his days in the foreign service. So the thing is, you must know what battles to fight. If you don't know what battles to fight, you will become like Mustafa Jakolo. You must know what battles to fight. I respect his views. For example, when he said that this dollar thing has made so many billionaires out of people who cross their legs in their gardens and they go and bring dollars for them. Perfect opinion. I felt the government had to do something about that. But
I have a call of duty.
Don't as an emir be taking on everybody. It makes no sense.
Choose your battles. Femi is calling us from Ondo State. Thank you for joining us, Femi.
Yeah.
Where are you calling from in Ondo State?
Akure.
Akure. All right. How is Arakuri?
They are fine.
All right.
Yeah, I'd like to just make my comment on two issues. One, with regards to the money that was discovered at Ikoyi. I'd like to just emphasize that we need to strengthen our judicial institutions, because for corruption to be defeated, the battlefield is at the judicial court. Whether rightly or wrongly, any pronouncement the court makes has an effect on our anti-corruption fight. So I think the judiciary should be brought into the fold. They should also fight corruption. And then secondly, with regards to the Emir of Kano, I'd like to disagree with Jide and Co. You know, if we say certain battles should not be fought, then we are indirectly encouraging systematic failure in our fight to strengthen our society. You all agree that the North has been a burden, not because they design or they desire to be a burden, but because the leaders of the North have failed the North.
Thank you, Femi. Femi, you've taken our time. Mayor, now, apparently, from what I've read so far in the last 48 hours, Emir Sanusi has been saying, look, these people, they need to embrace Western education. They need to stop, you know, making so much noise about religion, and that will set them so much backward. And they need to start embracing education and stop hiding under the guise of religion to perpetuate some, you know, things that are evil.
I agree with him absolutely on that. I agree with him. I'm on the same page with him on that. Because I think, like Festus said, the North, the things have to change in the North if we want development there. And there is need for some people to be able to tell others the truth. So on that I'm on the same page with him.
Coming from the Emir?
No, it will even be coming from the Emir, it will have the kind of weight that it should have. It should be able to tell leaders, because political leaders, they need to...
This early marriage,
they need to play more emphasis.
There's a religion undertone to this early marriage. There was a time they were asking the Senate to make legislation on the years that you can marry a girl and everything, and most senators came up and they said, look, this has to do with our religion. Yes.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
So now we don't have...
But I don't agree because
even Sanusi will never agree to that.
No, but the girl child
because the wife that he just took from Adamawa State, it was 17 or 18. So even Sanusi would never agree to that.
No, but the girl child,
the daughter of the Emir in Adamawa.
But the girl child has rights.
You know? No, but the thing
so
is,
it is important for somebody to
we have
those rights.
You see, nobody is saying that they don't have rights. And I've been following Sanusi long before most Nigerians knew him, when he was a newspaper columnist. The question to ask is, was Sanusi preaching all of these things back then? You need to just go back and read what he was saying at that time. He did not think that it was an issue at that time, because he probably was seeking attention.
Okay, I have Nero. Nero is calling us from California in the United States of America. Thank you for joining us, Nero.
Hello.
Yes, Nero.
Hello. Yes. First-time caller. I try to, I've been listening to the show intermittently.
Thank you, Nero.
With that said, I like the issues you guys are discussing, but we also have to understand religion is very, very emotive, as Jida said, across Nigeria. It's a tool that the elite continues to use to basically undermine and subjugate people. And it's even more effective in the North. As such, I support what the Emir is doing, and he should continue to do that. And any well-meaning, sensible individual should support that drive. Thank you.
Thank you, Nero, all the way from California. I say good afternoon, good morning to you from California. Now, Mayor, when we are looking at this now, what Jide is trying to say is that, yes, he might have the right message, the gospel, the right message, might be politically correct, but the context and his position.
Yeah, I agree with that.
His position.
I agree.
So
I agree that
it's a precarious position.
I agree that
yes.
it should not take on. I agree that it should not take on the issue of. It should be careful when it comes to the issue of religion, especially those Islamic preachers. They should be very careful with them, like I said, because religion is, it is easy for you to use to dominate people's minds with religion. And these people can turn people against him. I agree with that. But at the same time, I think, that's why I said you should just change his style. it should be circumventing, so doing certain things. It should not openly confront the establishment.
Festus.
Yes, I think that Sanusi may not be a perfect messenger. Sanusi may not be a perfect messenger. He's flawed. Jide has pointed out.
Just hold your thought. I have Moses from the United Kingdom. Thank you for joining us, Moses.
Uncle, good evening.
Good evening. We seem to have a lot of.
Uncle G as well.
Go ahead with your contribution, Moses.
No problem. It's just a very quick one regarding Enya Sanusi. I think the man is doing a fantastic job. I think the only problem I can say with him is that maybe regarding the way maybe channels it, but I think he's doing well. When it comes to the problem in the north, Jide should just stop saying that maybe he's fighting too much battle. The man knows what he's doing. And everyone is not talking about it. And that's is talking about it. There's a mass problem in the north in regard to education and religion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moses. Thank you, calling all the way from the United Kingdom. Festus.
I was just going to say that, look, it's in the north, religion to some extent has often been used for mischief. And I look at what Sanusi said. Look at, yes.
You know, Festus, it's convenient for us to say it here.
No.
I'm telling you.
Okay,
yes,
all
it's
over Nigeria.
For us to
No, let me say this. Can I say this? That all over the world, religion has been used for mischief sometimes. But the point I want to make is, look, what did Sanusi say? Train your children, train your female children. What is so wrong in that?
That's not all he said.
No, I'm coming.
Is that all he said?
No, wait. Now I'll address the other issues. Train your female children. If you check most of these elites in the north, how many of them are the political elite, those traditional elite, those in the corporate? Most of them are training their female children overseas. Go and check. How many of them will allow their daughter, who is about 10, to go and get married? You know, so if you amongst the conservative elites know that good education is good for your children, why are you so opposed when this issue is raised? This simple suggestion that you should train your female children. Then the issue of limiting the number of wives that a man can marry, I think it's ridiculous.
Yes.
I think it's ridiculous. I think he's just getting it over his head when suggesting that. But I think that the larger points he has made about poverty,
from the religion point of view.
Yes. No. You see, is it everybody, because your religion says you can marry 4 wives? Is it sensible for a man who cannot feed himself to marry 4 wives?
Well, that's a no-go
business.
area.
That
That
is
is a
his
no-go
business.
area because it's like, Jide, I understand. I'm on the same page with you on this. I understand. So, your final take on this, when you want to see this situation, because I'm looking at a Sultan of Sokoto, Colonel, my very calm Colonel. I'm looking at the way he has comported himself since he got to that throne, and is the chairman of the Council of Muslim Supreme Muslim Council in Nigeria, and
He also interferes.
Yes,
he
but
intervenes in national issues.
Yes.
You see, I also quarrel with the frequency of Sanusi's intervention in national issues. You see, I quarrel nearly all the time.
Yes.
People call him. In fact, I was shocked that Sanusi didn't attend the BBOG event because everywhere they call him, he goes with his turban and goes there to
But
talk.
that's Sanusi has always
No,
been
but
like
you
that.
see, when you become,
No, but
why
it's not
did
an
you
emir. It's not an
become
emir.
an emir?
It's
You
not an
see,
emir.
if you become an emir, then you can't be talking all the time.
Yeah.
You can't be talking all the
Yeah.
time. You see, there is a level. How many times do you even see the Ijebu monarch just granting
Secretary
tablet or talking all over the place? No, there are some, when you hold certain positions, you restrain yourself from doing certain things.
Mayor, I have to go.
How can you tell
Your last take on this.
support the slapping of men by women? How can you do that?
I think Sanusi said a lot of nice things, but I think he should be careful. I also agree that they should train the girl child, and
Nobody is opposed to that.
Education should be given
And I don't
more
think he's
prominence
even being
enough.
criticized for that.
But the way,
No.
but the way he's going about it, he should be careful. He should be
Should
careful.
be careful.
Yes.
Should be careful. First thought,
I think that the North should face the message and
leave the messenger.
and leave the messenger. Just address very serious issues.
They will not
The
leave
emir
the
is the
messenger. If the messenger says certain things that people don't like, they are going to talk about it. If the messenger supports women slapping their husbands, people will complain. Because the emir is not perfect. The emir is just an ordinary being like the rest of us.
I want to thank you, gentlemen.
You can't say your daughter should slap someone.
I want to thank
The message is
you. I think
relevant.
Festus Eriye is making his debut on the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I enjoyed myself.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I hope you don't get slapped by a woman.
I will tell you my stride.
Thank you so much for making this program very thick. Actually,
are going to be
as usual,
slapped.
I will slap you.
I will turn your that cheek.
And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Just join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the broadcast tonight at 11, and you can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzuba. Bye for now. God bless Nigeria.